Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll keep adding people into the room if they come into the waiting room while we get started here. But my name's Raven. I am the Professional Development Chair for the SFS Academic Council, and I'm super excited to have Beth from the Career Center with us today to talk a little bit about Handshake and how you guys can use Handshake more to your advantage to find internships, because I know it can be a bit overwhelming. So I'm really excited for the session and the things we have set aside to answer. So I'll hand it over to you, Beth.
Yeah, thank you, Raven. So, as Raven said, my name is Beth Schill. I'm a white middle-aged woman wearing glasses with my hair tied up and a white blouse on. And I am delighted to be here today to kind of explain to you folks how to use Handshake to your best advantage as you start your internship or job search. So, I titled the name of this presentation, Handshake, Is It Actually Useful? Or it is actually useful. And that's because I hear from a lot of students that they don't really use Handshake because it's overwhelming. They don't quite understand how to do different things on it. So going through this today, we'll really just try and show you what are some of the ways you can use it, how to use it, and how to really make this tool work for you. So that being said, I know Raven will be monitoring the chat. So if at any point you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat and I'll do my best to kind of answer as we go through this. And it will be interactive. So I'm just going to rely on the slides just a little bit. So, okay. So what is Handshake? Handshake is an online platform that it was created to connect students and employers and to quote democratize access to opportunity, and that comes from Handshake's website. What they mean by that is this was created by two students at Michigan Tech University, which is way up in the northernmost part of the Northern Peninsula in Michigan. So very far from anything. And these two students were kind of disgruntled at the fact that, Silicon Valley companies and other tech companies never ventured up to the Upper Peninsula, let alone come to a state like Michigan to do recruitment, even though they had students who were definitely qualified for some of the jobs. So they created this platform in an attempt to help students and companies find one another over geographic boundaries. We started using this in 2017, and especially during the pandemic, its use just really exploded between employers and students. At this point, it's used by over 1,400 higher ed institutions and over 750,000 employers. Now, that can be overwhelming, but it really is to your benefit because you have access to all these different organizations. Essentially, what happens is an employer can create an account and then they can select the schools from which they want to recruit. The benefit for them is that, they can post a job once and it goes out to the entire network. The benefit for you is that, again, you have employers from all different parts of the country who maybe might not travel to Georgetown because of expenses or it's just out of their region. And now you have access to all those jobs and vice versa. So it really does cater to both students and employers. Now, what makes it really interesting is that even before AI was really on the scene, they used a lot of and it still does, use a lot of back end algorithms and now a little more AI to really try and customize the site to you and your preferences. But as with any tool, it is only as good as the amount of effort you put into it or the amount of information you give the system. All right, so how to use it. We're going to go through a few things in a moment. How to help it search for jobs, how to save searches, how to create notifications, and how to manage your inbox. And I'm going to try and get to as many of these things as I can as in a way that makes sense. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. All right, so what I'm going to do here, can everybody see my screen as it is right now? Get a thumbs up. Okay, so this is my homepage for Handshake. You'll see a home button, a feed, which is this new feature that they have. They're essentially trying to compete with like Instagram and TikTok. Not sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is. You have my inbox, which yes, I do get emails from recruiters because they sometimes think I'm a student. Jobs, events, people, employers, and then of course the Career Center. All right, so on this home page, what you see beyond the videos is something where it says top jobs for you. So what this has done in my case is this has pulled from, in my case, over 7 years of searches with students to pull up jobs that it thinks I might be interested in. So you can see there's a law firm coming up, the McCain Institute, as well as the Meridian International Center. So you can see that some of the things that an SFS student might be interested in. Yeah, I do a lot of searches with SFS students, so that's reflected. The next thing that is down here are employers recommended for me. So Aiken Gum Strauss and Hauer is a lobbying firm that some of their clients are kind of within like the defense industry. Khaki is a defense contractor. The Brady group is, of course, the one trying to help reduce gun violence and the amount of guns that are out there. So it shows me these things, and we can go into like the view I as well. The other thing is there are upcoming employer events. Now, the thing to notice with this is if you look at all these, there is Georgetown University listed as the organizer, and these are all in person. So what this means is that these are events that Georgetown as a university has approved. Sometimes you will also see some virtual events that employers have, and we are not always involved in those. And last, we have this Georgetown Collections. Now, I will be honest, the Georgetown Collections from our end is really new, so we are still trying to manage how we populate those. But they're there. You can use them or not, but just be aware that that is a section that is a work in progress from the Career Center side. So that's kind of what you see on your homepage. Now, to kind of go into this a little bit more, and we'll come back to how to create your own job search. For example, we're looking at top jobs for us. I click the View More button. I'm going to give it a moment. And up pops the jobs search. Now, you can see that it's at this point over 42,000 jobs. So obviously that's not going to be helpful for me. But the ones that come up here are some of the ones that are, again, using my profile, using my search information. We have, in addition, the US Department of Commerce, an international policy intern, the American Enterprise Institute, the International Center for Terrorism and something else, a research intern, Evergreen Strategy Group, you can Naval Intelligence Agency. Again, these are all things, these are open positions as we look at them right now. So let's go into, I'm going to go into the Department of Commerce because this is like a little less well known. So I'm going to click on this, right? Here is a job description. I'm going to move my box over here. It shows you it was posted 3 weeks ago, so it's relatively current. It is due soon. So if you were interested in this, you want to get your application together. Now, here's a couple things to notice or to do. The first thing is if this is really an interesting job to you, you want to go ahead and save it. And then what that does is as the deadline gets closer, you get an email in your inbox from Handshake saying, a position that you are interested in will be closing soon. So that kind of helps remind you. When we're on this page, we want to look at a couple things. So at a glance, it tells you it is unpaid, it is hybrid, it is an internship, it is part-time, it is 10 hours a week, and US work authorization is required. Now, for international students, what that means is that you have to be authorized to work in the United States. That means that you can have a CPT or OPT visa, and you can use that, or you can be a green card holder and use that as well. So if you see work authorization, that is different than US citizenship. So in this case, if you are an international student and your visas are in good status and you've cleared it with OGS, that you can use that, the CPT or OPT classification, you're good to go. All right, so then when you click on the summary, you can click on more, and then you see the full job description. Always please read this in detail. It tells you exactly what you need to emphasize on your cover letter and your resume, which we could do a whole info session on that as well, but we will not do that today. Next, we have about the employer, where you can learn more about the agency or the organization. So in this part, it is a industry with it's the Bureau of Industry and Security within the Department of Commerce, and its mission is to advance national security, foreign policy, and economic objectives by ensuring effective export control and treaty compliance. And it goes on. Sounds pretty cool. I know some of you are very interested in security, trade. This could be a really good fit for you. So what you might want to do is, if this employer is of interest, there's a follow button here on the right, and you click it and it says following. Again, much like the save job thing, if you click this, anytime this agency comes to campus, posts an internship, posts a job, maybe puts up a virtual information session, again, you will get an email from Handshake letting you know that an employer you are following is coming to campus, or attending a free fair. So that's all good to know. One more thing, and this is where I think Handshake can be really cool. It can also strike out sometimes. But down underneath this, we have this similar jobs section. And you can see different jobs that Handshake is pulling that it thinks you may be interested in. So the first thing, Bread for the World, a nonprofit organization, international policy internship. Command holding, also an international policy analyst. Now, I don't know what command holding is, so we can check that out. Policy intern for Future Caucus, Cornerstone Government Affairs, that's also a popular employer. American Apparel and Footwear Association is also looking for a policy intern. So this is a group that would represent apparel and footwear manufacturers. So interesting, like Nike, Reebok, probably groups like that. And then a local stewards of affordable housing for the future. So this is all really cool. In this case, this similar jobs is very relevant. And so this is where you can find things that maybe you hadn't heard of before. You can find an employer you haven't heard of before, and you can look into that, and we can do that in a moment. The last thing, and this is something new, is it shows Georgetown alumni at this employer. So you can reach out to these folks and follow them. So Sarah, let's go ahead and follow her. You can click on her bio, and it shows you a little bit of who she is, her work experience. You can reach out to her. You can see she's a fairly recent graduate, and you can message her, much like a LinkedIn or something of that nature. So I wanted to go back here to just kind of show what we're looking at. So again, you can bookmark the jobs, or this one. I'm totally clicking this because I've never heard of this organization, so I'm curious. All right, so Command Holding, a management consulting company. Interesting. It's not Deloitte, it's not Booz Allen, but it is consulting. So here again, we can read out. Now here they say only applications submitted via this link can be considered. So that's something also to just check, is if they have a link to apply to or other directions. Sometimes when you apply, it automatically takes you to an external page as indicated up here. But anyways, you can read more about their policy analyst positions. Work environment. This is a little bit about the organization. So it is a tribally owned firm. So these organizations often have preferences with government contracts, which is a good thing. Now this one here, we're reading it. Okay, bachelor's degree, 5 years of experience. Alas, this isn't going to help. But what we can do is, okay, if you are interested in this group, let's go ahead and follow them, and then maybe they will post an internship at some point. That goes on. Now, I will say about the experience question, we really do try to emphasize with employers that this is for college students. I know, companies know that you don't graduate with 5 years of experience. So why they post on here and not another job board, I'm not sure. So we do try to work with employers on that, but every once in a while, one of these types of positions pop in. We do what we can. With over 750,000 employers, we can't keep up with them all. All right, so going back to Handshake. All right. So now I'm going to go back home. So we can go back to that. Again, this employer is recommended for you. This is a good way to check out employers. There's employers that I follow up at the top. There's filters that you can use to try and find employers. So like I get a lot of questions sometimes on like nonprofits. Okay, well, there's a lot of nonprofits. So, you think of an issue, any issue, and there's probably 10 nonprofits that work with it. So let's try and narrow this down. We're looking at Washington, DC. So and I usually, you can tell the radius is like 50 miles. I'm going to bring it down to 5 because that more or less encompasses the DC area. It's still at 1,400 per organizations. So still a lot. So let's go ahead and put in, let's see, I'm going to put in immigration. That tends to be something interesting. Okay, so now this is down to 34 employers, a much more manageable number for you to explore. And we can start to see what some of these are. Now, again, these are all nonprofits. So if you are striking out on government jobs, not really liking the idea of working for a think tank, these are some organizations that are cool to follow for nonprofits. So again, you can look at all these organizations, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, when you're looking at, the international side of immigration, this could be something cool to check out. Again, you can follow the employer, you can look at more information, see if they have any jobs open at this point. IUTA is a really popular one to help people understand their legal rights. You can see, so anyways, this is just an example. So that's also a powerful tool. All right, so now I'm going to move on a little bit. We'll come back to events and some other things, but let's do an experiment. Okay, now this is where I do need audience participation. So somebody tell me, not a specific job, but give me an idea of maybe a type of job you might be looking for and where. Don't everybody jump at once.
Hillturnship?
A Hill internship? Okay. So, location, I'm going to put Washington, D.C. You could also add your hometown because they often do have like field internships. Again, Washington, D.C., I'm going to bring that distance down to like 5 miles. That will definitely get us to Capitol Hill. Now I'll show results. That's still a lot. Are you looking for an internship? Yeah, I'm going to click internship. Again, still a lot. So let's see. I'm going to just type in Congress. All right, and it's kind of showing some of these points. Okay, so you can see that some of these positions are starting to come up. Congressman Ken Calvert, Office of Congresswoman Susan Delbene, Benny, I might be mispronouncing that. Scott Fitzgerald, a number of them. Now it's also picking up some other things like the Congressional Budget Office, other things where it's like you might be working with Congress or congressional relations. Usually Congress is usually something like the Office of Congress. I'm just going to say that because Congressman, Congresswoman. Okay, so now we see a lot more congressional internships. And a lot of them right now are looking for spring interns. I will say just in the last 2 days since the election, I have seen on some other listservs a boom in different requests for new positions with some of the returning or new Congresspeople. So over the next couple months, there's going to be a lot of movement on the Hill. Whether or not they post on Handshake is a different matter, but let's work with what we have. So we have this list. Seems fairly relevant, right? So up here, it says in this purple box, notify me about new jobs like this. You click that. And again, when there are new internships or jobs that come up that meet the filters that you have, it will populate. So, or it will give you an email that says, more jobs have been added to this. So that's Congress. All right, let's clear all filters. I want to try this again because I do want to show something else. All right, something else. Types of jobs, issue areas. All right, I am going, let's see, what is something that I hear of?
I can give one too, Beth, if you want
Yeah,
one.
go ahead, Raven. Yes.
Let's see. I'm interested in anything in the US China like analysis, policy analysis. And I don't know if that's broad or specific, but
Yeah.
anything in that space.
Let's give it a shot. All right, so
Okay.
again, location. What do you think? Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Internship, full-time job.
I'll go internship. I'm a junior, so
Okay.
I think
Okay.
internship would be ideal.
All
If you
right.
can find anything for spring, I
Yeah.
I would love that.
All right. So I'm just gonna put in China. Actually, I'm gonna do beginning of Chinese. Now, the other thing I want to do is if we look at filters, all filters, this is where can be helpful for international students. Okay, so you can filter. You can ask for whether you want a paid or an unpaid internship. Compensation benefits, I think this is more like usually if you're looking for a full-time job, um, I think that can be helpful. You can ask for on-site remote or your work modality. It'll like recommend things based on your interests or popular for your major, new for you. This is the Georgetown collections that I was talking about that we are kind of have populated, kind of don't. If you want to talk to an employer, you can click this that the employer is open to messaging, which is also really cool. Again, job role, industry, employers. Again, you can filter, you can add in all these things, which can help. The one thing I wanted to go down to is this work authorization. So again, for our international students, you can click open to visa sponsorship, open to the OPT or CPT visas through the F1, no US work authorization required or unknown. Now, again, if it's open to work like if it needs US work authorization, again, that can be OPT or CPT. Oh, that is different than visa sponsorship. Visa sponsorship is when you would go through the H-1B visa process and you would these are organizations that would be willing to sponsor you to get an H-1B visa and then go through that process. Some organizations will accept an OPT or a CPT because that costs them nothing. But when it comes to authorization for a visa, there are a lot of organizations who will not make that next step, especially in kind of like the nonprofit organizations. They don't know how to do that. They don't have the budget to do that. It does cost an organization a not insignificant amount of money. So just keep that in mind. If you put unknown, that just brings up all the employers that haven't mentioned this. And this is something that employers do populate on the back end when they're creating jobs. So you can see that down here, just with the filters we have, there's 845 jobs. So let's see. I'm trying to think what would be helpful. I'm going to click popular in your major, and I can't remember what NC, it has 0 results. So you always want to be careful based on my interest. And this is because guess what? I don't have my profile filled out, so I don't have a major listed. I don't have interests listed. So the more filled out your profile is, the better this is going to be. So fill it out as completely as you can. Employers do reach out to students. I had one today where an employer she was interested in actually reached out to her and was hoping she would apply for a job. that means they already are looking at her. They like what they see. They want her to apply. And that's what we're going for. Okay, so let's say we're paid, still 684. Let's see if we want to do research. Okay, that's too broad. Let's pick this. Okay, so 194 is much better. All right, and so we're gonna search this now. Okay, so because I started to do China, Chinese, you can see in this case, there's one job open, the Asia Society Center for China Analysis Fall Internship. Now, Raven, because it says fall, this is not relevant. And yes, there are employers who just don't they don't check this all the time. You can see here that's applied by January. That probably means that they haven't gotten a lot of applicants, so they want to try and get more applicants even throughout the semester. But what it can show you, again, let's say you're interested in the Asia Society, we can go ahead and follow it. Nonprofit dedicated to identifying future pathways for Asia and the world that enhance peace, prosperity, freedom, equality, and sustainability. Sounds like a cool mission. You always want to do more research though. Okay, we can look more, and then what this can tell you, Raven, is that they will likely be posting something for the spring. Looking at this, you can already see what the responsibilities and requirements are. Chances are it won't change all that much from semester to semester, so you can start to get an application together so that, again, if you're following them, you get that ping when the spring one opens, and guess what? You're ready to go. Saves you time, right? This is good because you are all busy and you're stressed, and this is a good thing. And again, you can see the similar jobs. Again, it's picking up on fall internship. Some of the other things here doesn't make as much sense in this case, but we can work with that. We saw one example where it's really well aligned, and another example where not so much. And that is, that's what Handshake is. It's not perfect. So, all right. And that's where, like, if a job posting is inactive, you just won't see it on here. You will see these old ones that maybe have like a later application date. And you always want to look at how long they've been posted for. So anywhere within, a couple weeks to 6 weeks at most, it's probably current. But beyond that, I would say that they just haven't taken it down. Also, you can also, push comes to shove, you can go directly to the organization's website. So Asia Society, let's check this out. Good old Google for the win. You can click the Asia Society. You can, let's see, our work, locations all around the world. That sounds kind of cool. Oh, hey, look at this. They have a whole intern section. Let's click on that. And voila. Washington, D.C. These are full-time opportunities, internship opportunities. You can see their website isn't updated that well. So not uncommon in nonprofits. They're, small but mighty and often a little bit disorganized. It is what it is. Okay. But still, this tells you, Handshake's not wrong, but sometimes this can give you more accurate information. So if you don't see the internship posted here, then it's likely a really old posting. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just clear this all. I know I've been talking fast, and I know I've been going through a lot. I'm going to pause for a second. Any thoughts or questions?
Hi, thank you so much. That was really helpful. I
Yeah.
was wondering if you had like any advice about how many internship applications I should apply for if I'm a freshman and I'm like not really sure if I want to intern in the spring, but just want to intern just for the experience. Like how many applications do you recommend I do?
Okay, that's a really good question. I'm going to do a little bit of a cop out and say you should, like, Teresa, why don't we go ahead and make an appointment and we can talk about your goals? Because I would say often with internships, it's about quality over quantity. And that can be a whole other session where we talk about like how to help find the internships that are of most interest to you. And that often requires a little bit of discernment, self-discernment, because you can see there's a lot of jobs on here, and it's really easy to just kind of like go through this and apply. And we find that, you know, I've had students come in being like, I've applied to 100 internships. Okay, you got something like that, like statistically, you probably will get some callbacks in an internship, but that's not helpful. That's not useful to you. It's really stressful. So it's better to have quantity over or quality over quantity. So we're talking like, I usually say like 2 dozen or so, but it really depends on what you're looking at and talking with the Career Center, either through career exploration appointments, which Teresa often at your as a first year, that can be really helpful for you to identify like what your values are, what are your strengths, where do you think you want to go. And it's, by the way, as a freshman, it's absolutely 100% okay to not have a plan. Even as a senior, that's okay. That's why we're in college, we're exploring. And I'm getting totally off on a tangent, but this is okay. Because when we do that self-reflection, it can help take this massive amount of potential internships down at least a little bit, so that when we're doing this search, you can be a little bit more refined in your search, and it will make it less overwhelming. Okay. But that's why we're here. We could talk about that more.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so I had some questions about what else can Handshake do? Well, it is the one-stop shop for all things career, including stuff with the Career Center. So that's where I'm going to go next. So with the Career Center, you can click on this link, and they're right at the top. There are appointments, resources, and surveys. The appointments is really the most effective one. Resources, we haven't really used this tab in a long time, except if you look at the resources page, these are old. A lot of this is on our website, which is much more up to date. However, the careers in government page and the careers in intelligence, these two pages I use because what they have on them are documents and guides that are behind a firewall. So that I'm not going to post this on our website, but like careers and intelligence, down at the bottom, oh, hey, look at that. There's a scoring list for FBI PT tests, a CIA resume tips, a presentation on careers in the FBI, job resources, other fact sheets that I try to update. It's another cover letter tip sheet, a resume template for FBI. So this is where I post things that are, you know, they just don't want anybody to know about. They want Georgetown students. And same with careers in government. Again, scroll all the way down, kind of ignore the writing. But again, we have tips on a federal resume. We have specific examples that were written by a outside consultant. And if we were to post them, we'd get in trouble for copyright law. So we don't want to do that. So, you know, you can click on this and see, oh, hey, here's an example federal resume. And I can use this as I create my own. So that's the resources tab. Again, I only use it. It's only really used in my industries, careers in government and careers in internship or in intelligence. The other thing you can do is, now I don't know if you all see this. I see all the different career centers. I'm not sure if you all see that or if you just see the Cawley Career Education Center. But what you can look at is, first of all, appointments. This is where you make appointments with us. Click on that, schedule a new appointment. There's a couple types of appointments. It's late, I'm getting tongue-tied. Career exploration is the first one. Again, if you're not sure what you want to do, this is a great one. Industry advising, this is where you click on this, you can see that we have a number of places. Education, government and international organizations, government peer advising, and then down to the bottom, we have a new one that's federal resume review and intro to government. So if you're like, I think I want to work in the government, I don't really know where to start, or I think I want to work on the Hill, that would be your good one. Mine are education and nonprofit and government and international organizations. So you can click on that. You can see that, hey, I've got my first appointments aren't available till November 18th because my calendar fills up really quickly, but you can click on that, make an appointment, and we're good to go. So that's one way that we use this. And I think that's a pretty important way. The other thing is if you scroll down, you can see upcoming events. You can also see events from the event tab. And you can see our staff. But this is where, again, these are things where you could star them. So, and again, it's all upcoming events. Usually if you see it on here, you can go to it. If you don't see an event on here, it's out there, but you just can't see it. So, if it's on here, you can do it. You can go to it. And this is just upcoming events. So in the next couple days. Now, if we go to the events tab, we've already done the jobs tab. If we go to the events tab, you can see that there are different things coming up. So career fairs, career center employer events. So that means like we are working with an employer to put on an event. Career center guidance events. These are workshops that we do, like how to network, how to bring your story into bring your story into your applications. We have them usually a couple times a semester, like career exploration for first years, second years, juniors, seniors, and then we'll have some more for like seniors as we get closer to graduation. And then there's this events hosted by employers. Now this is where there's tons of them. And what this is an employer puts out an info session. It's open to everybody on their profile. But there's some employers who only do these types of info sessions. They don't come to Georgetown. They just say, hey, all right, I'm McKinsey. You want to look, if you're looking at this, if you're an MBA abroad, come to this event. It looks like Evercore is a big fan of this. AmeriCorps, I see a lot of things from like the postgrad service groups. Teach for America does some. Partnership for Public Service, which, full disclosure, I used to work at, but like they host this really cool how to launch a career in the federal government, which honestly, I attended one earlier this semester. It's really helpful. It's a lot of information that I also share with students. So here it shows you that it's about hiring and guidance. It gives you like an overall summary. And then again, it's like sign up on our website. Right here, they say do not sign up via Handshake. And then again, you can read about the employer. So you can see, for this one, they're not actually talking about working at the Partnership for Public Service. They're looking at how to launch a career in the federal government. And so if we go back to events, that's events posted by employers. It's listed by chronological order. So if we look at Career Center employer events, these are all the things we have coming up that are of interest that we're working with. So you can see that there's quite a bit. This will start to slow down later in November. So you can see it kind of stops in November. Now what I can't tell from here specifically is whether or not, again, I have a general profile. I probably see a lot more than what you may see. So some of these might be, say, specific to MSB students or SFS graduate students. So again, what I'm seeing right now may not be what you see if you click on the events tab. But I do know that we have some of these coming up because my coworkers are working on them. So this is where the events tab is. At other times in the semesters, there's going to be a lot more, which is, I think, pretty cool. So yes, sorry, events. Career, I don't know if we have guidance events. Oh yeah, we have pre-law office hours. We have this coming up, Ask Me Anything, My Life as a Foreign Service Officer. We have a woman coming next week who wrote a book and is happy to talk with students. You can register for it. You can press this button and hey, you're registered. And I have to go back and unregister because I don't want to take a spot. Here we go. Can't make the event, unregister. There you are. So this is where, part of it is what these tags are. And that's where you can kind of see that, okay, so more is coming up now because we're talking about career guidance, a LinkedIn learning, which is really cool, business office hours, sophomore symposium. So this is where we have like this programming, so yeah, do you feel lost? Are you confused? You don't know where to start? Again, this is something where you can apply or not apply to this, but RSVP. This is telling me I'm not qualified because I think my profile says I'm a senior. So sometimes you do see that, and it's usually based on class year, but you can then ask Yona if you can attend. So there's always all these cool things that you can check out. And again, like, if there's one thing that just breaks my heart is when we have these really cool events with amazing employers that we know y'all are interested in, and we take the time to put on the event, the employer comes, and we get like half a dozen students if we're lucky, and then I guarantee within the next week I have one of you asking about that specific employer, and it just breaks my heart. So don't do that to me. Check the events tab, and like I said, and look at the employers you're interested in, flag them, that actually read those emails that come from Handshake, because that will often be like, hey, an employer that you're looking at is coming to campus to participate in an event. So this is really a gold mine for all of you. Like, we do try to bring employers to campus, especially in my industry, employers that are not consulting firms or banks. So if that's not of interest to you, I do a lot. So I retry. So I know we're getting closer to time. Let me look and see if there was any other big questions. I think we're kind of hitting all the main points. I think I'd like to open it up to any questions. I know there might be a few things that I've missed, but
Yeah, I think you covered all the big questions we asked. I did have a few follow-up questions to get us started while people are
Sure.
thinking, if that
Yeah.
is all right with you, Beth.
Sure.
One of the ones that I noticed is you mentioned that you can tell whether applying to a job might be successful based on how long it's been posted. Is
Mhm.
there a way to filter by how long it's been posted by
Oh,
chance, or is there no way to
let's
do
check
that?
that out. Okay,
I feel
so
like that would be helpful if it was like under
yeah. Let's check
6
that out. And
weeks.
if not, the cool thing about Handshake is like we can always talk to our rep and say like, hey, have you guys thought about, implementing this filter?
Yeah,
So we
drop
can,
it in the suggestion box.
yeah, exactly. I don't see that. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. I'm actually going to take that note because that's the kind of thing we look for. Good question.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then one of the other ones I had is you mentioned the Georgetown collections on the main page. What are those exactly and how can we use them?
Yeah. So these are, I think that the way it's designed is to try and help us to the point of like overwhelm, try and manage that overwhelm so that from our side, the career center side, we create these collections. And, some of it is like working with employers to kind of be like, hey, you want to be featured in this collection? Like, how about we do some of these things together? But it's kind of to make it easier on you. So if we look at the collection, all right, so here we have create social impact, great for School of Foreign Service students. This is something I created with the graduate school, Hidden Gems. These are the only ones we have right now. So if we click on the SFS schools, there's cool thing is it shows employers. The only thing is I think limited to like 100. So this is not it's really hard for us to determine like where the line is, but you can see that there's 261 jobs. So right now we're on the jobs category. It is pulling up all the jobs that are posted with these employers that we've tagged. Albright Stonebridge Group, really popular. But right here you can see it was posted a month ago. So for a full-time job, I don't know, you could still try. IMF, there's a lot with AEI right now. There's a lot with the Meridian International Center. A lot of think tanks are looking for stuff right now. There's an IT fellowship with state that's open. So you can see there's like 200 of them, which is big. And again, then employers, you can kind of see the employers we're putting in here. It's kind of all over the place. Some may be more popular than others, but we go on like surveys that you all fill out, saying like, what are your top employers you want to see on campus? So that is all here. So that's the SFS one. I actually would also, depending on like what your interests are, create social impact, is one that I've kind of put in here. So these are a lot of the more like nonprofit organizations, sometimes like post-grad service groups. So I think this is something that, some of you might be interested in. I think I started filling it out and then the semester started, and I would much rather be focused on having appointments with you than, back end stuff like this. But it's something you can use. And again, we're working on our end to figure out what the best way to do this is. One I'd really like to populate is hidden gems. These are employers that you may not have heard of before, but are actually really cool. Grace Initiative Global, they came to a career fair last year. And no, it's not this one. Sorry, it's Voluntas. Let me wait a minute. Yeah. Oh no. Never mind. I was thinking of another organization. They're both cool that have reached out to me. I think the first one, Grace Initiative, if I'm not mistaken, they may be one of the organizations that's approved to help resettle refugees. But I have to go back and double check. And that is why don't count on these collections, because they are imperfect. We're working on. Thanks. And I think you said there was
Awesome.
another
Thank you.
question.
I have one more question, and then we can open it up, and just a brief one about the profile, because I know you mentioned that helps with the AI search as well as saving jobs. That way, your emails and your inboxes are a little more manageable, because I know we get some emails, and the more we see things we like, I think the more we'll check them. So,
Yeah.
what do you think is most important to populate in our profile? I know ideally we'd have it all filled out, but do you recommend like having like a resume in there? Do you recommend having a like what are employers
Yeah,
really looking for and what's really going to help with those searches?
I think a summary, your skills help, work experience, I think it's kind of helpful. You can see mine goes back a bit. I think, and this is stuff like I put in like I'm a senior. You can see my actual alma maters. Courses can sometimes be helpful. Organizations can be like your post or your extracurriculars. I think what's kind of cool is that you can this can also help tell employers something that's interesting. The big thing I see is if you go to this my career interests, that is a big one. And it says like types of job, what are you considering? How can Handshake help you? And graduate programs, what types of jobs you're interested in, everything, and then which industries. Now, I will say how the industry thing works is sometimes when we have like a last minute event or an event that we think it's really cool, but we don't have the attendance we want, we send push emails out. I use this to say, hey, you're interested in defense. I have a random part of the DoD that's coming to campus. I'm going to send push email out to all the students and the college and SFS who are interested in defense, and I'll send that out. So you can use it as a way to get up-to-date information from us and same from employers. So I would say this page of like your career interests is, I think, more important, but like I said, they scrape, employers can scrape that back end information so they can reach out to you. So honestly, the more the profiles filled out, the better. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Teresa, Finley, do you guys have any questions? You guys can type in the chat or come on mic, whatever works.
Is there any way I can look for like Georgetown jobs only, like jobs with Georgetown centers?
Yeah, you can look at Georgetown. As an employer, let's see. Let's see, industry labels. I think Georgetown is in here. Let's see. Now this would be for full-time jobs. Here we go. So here's Georgetown University. This one, sometimes you have dual profiles, so always go to the one that's like more filled out. So when you click on Georgetown University, you can see the full-time jobs that are posted right now. Not all parts of this university will use this, but you can start to see like what are the things that are open right now. And again, this is for Georgetown. Sometimes we have these things, coffee chats sponsored by agencies, where it's not a job, but you have to like put in an application to be able to sign up for an interview spot or one-on-one spot. So we have that coming up with State Department next Tuesday. But if you're looking for on-campus employment, you're actually going to go to the Student Employment Office. And this is for on-campus employment. Everything from, working in the Career Center to, I have actually posted on here before looking for students to babysit for my kids. And, so you see it's all that kind of stuff or more kind of part-time jobs that aren't internships. So this is a Georgetown specific. So if you're looking for something like that for like work study, seo.georgetown.edu is where you want to go. Yeah. Some universities have both of them combined in one office. Ours are totally separate.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I know I joined late, but I feel like you covered everything, and I just want to thank you so much for putting this together.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, and like I was telling Raven, please get the word out. Please share this recording with your friends, because the more you can do this, the better it is for you. And then when you come in for an appointment with me, we can have a more targeted conversation, which can, I think, also benefit as well. When I know you're already going through these steps, it's like, oh, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how successful you are. Let's kind of take it to that next level. So it's not just kind of going through, I'll say, like the programmatic side of things.
And to schedule an appointment with you, I just click Career Center and then Career Development.
Career Center and then appointments. And then I'm at schedule a new appointment. I'm actually under industry advising. So industry advising, and then education and nonprofit and government and international organizations. That is me. But maybe you're not interested in that. Maybe you are interested in, let's see, there's business, but maybe you're interested in public relations. So then you would click on this. You can make an appointment with my colleague Jackie, who's the Arts, Media, and Communication Advisor. But that is kind of where you might find me. Arts, entertainment, journalism. We have pre-law. Health science and technology is another popular one. So I think this is something where that is how you go. You go appointments, schedule a new appointment, and then industry advising. Or again, if you're just kind of getting started, career exploration, there's peer advising, there's follow-up. You do like a career exploration or career exploration peer advising.
And can freshmen make appointments the same way? Or I heard like that sometimes freshmen are limited in their use of the Career Center, but I wasn't sure because I'm a transfer. So
usually only at the beginning of the school year. And then sometimes we, I believe that sometimes and don't quote me on this, sometimes our pre-law advisor, I think, may try to, depending on what cycle they are in the law school review, she may try and like hold those appointments for people who are actively applying to law school, and then maybe have those like general more, hey, I'm thinking about law. What do I need to do to prepare? What kind of experiences? I think she might sometimes kind of separate the two, but do not quote me on that.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I figured I'd
But yeah,
ask.
usually it's just the first couple weeks of school because there's information overload. When you come to college, that first month you do not need to worry about career. You need to worry about getting along, like establishing a decent relationship with your roommate, finding where your classes are, learning new study habits, doing the best you can, dealing with all the emotions that come with school, and actually at any time, like sometimes I've noticed students when it's really stressful, try to focus on career because it's something you can control versus the stress that comes with midterms. Or maybe it's like an avoidance strategy, like, oh, if I focus on this, then I don't have to think about my final paper. And so, honestly, trying to do the best you can in classes and taking care of yourself physically and mentally will help you in your job search in the long time. So all this saying, like, we love to see you all, but also don't stress about career because you got the rest of your life to work. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're calling me out for why I love being the professional development chair so much. Like, I love careers. It's my little
that's
escape
great. That's
hatch.
great. Yeah, it can be. But anyways, and
Same.
that's something we can always talk about in career and appointments too. So we're always happy to be that sounding board. If you're feeling stressed or your parents are on your case, like, well, what are you going to do with that major?
That's the amazing thing. There's so many wonderful majors at Georgetown and in the SFS specifically, but all
Yeah.
throughout. So
So
thank you so much, Beth. This was
you're
really, really
very welcome.
helpful. We really
Yeah.
appreciate your
Thank you
time.
guys so
Yeah, and I hope
much.
good luck everybody. We'll do appointments through the beginning of finals because then at that point we want you all to focus on your finals, but we'll have appointments. If you don't see any, just come back, usually every Monday we update our appointment slots. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night,
Thank you
Have a good
everybody.
night,
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
Good
Bye.
night.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.